You are now in tune to the Keys to the City podcast.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Keys to the City. I'm your host, Trev Keys, alongside the big brother T3, Teddy Keys. Ted, I might as well just let you take over because the fact that this man continues. Don't get your hopes up because it's not happening. But I'm gonna let you speak because you've just had all the good luck in the past couple weeks, and Trev continues to suffer when watching sports as of recently.
You're not a good picker.
Well, when it was like, come on, this is. I just don't understand it, man. What is the football / sports gods have against me? All my teams, whether it's the Giants having an awful season, Ohio State finishing off disappointingly, the Dallas Cowboys have the best shot of making a possible Super Bowl run since the 90s. And then last night, also the Yankees have one of the worst seasons they've had in quite some time. It's just like suffering to me, Ted. I might as well just let you take over because right now, let's think about what Ted has hit since, realistically, since almost Christmas time. Probably a little before Christmas time. He's a kid. He wins fantasy football. He continues to pick the right teams. Oh, and he also won some more money because of another league that he was in. Won that. And then while Trev is continuously sliding and faltering and struggling and suffering. And last night was another, I guess, addition to that suffering for me. As finally, I'm only congratulating two people that are close to my heart, Kevin Nolan and Eddie Glenn, because they are Michigan fans. No, I'm not congratulating you, Ted, because I know you liked Michigan. I'm not congratulating my father because he is supposedly a Michigan fan. I'm just not going to congratulate any other Michigan fans. Congratulations, well deserving of winning a national championship. You were truly the best team in college football this year, and it was on full display last night. And then you got the NFL playoffs starting. Ted, this is a good time for football fans. If you're a football fan, like I said, this is a great time for football fans, but also, as we talked about last episode, this is a sad time because football is nearing down until the end or until September. And I don't know, Ted. I don't know how we do it. I don't know how everybody else does it. So, Ted, let's get into it. You picked Michigan. I picked Washington. We talked about it, though, last episode. One of the big keys for Washington, for them to establish success last night, was slowing Michigan down in the trenches. And as you could tell, that did not go the way that the Huskies were hoping for. The Michigan Wolverines rushed for 300-plus yards last night. Blake Corum had a field day. And Donovan Edwards, boy, oh boy, it was good to get him back if you're a Michigan fan. Two huge runs to really set this game up as what the flavor of the night was going for Michigan. Running the football, J.J. McCarthy was almost non-existent, but delivered the throws, kind of like what Jimmy G did back in the day for San Fran until he didn't do that in the Super Bowl. But that's what it felt like last night. They just ran the football, controlled the clock, won in the trenches. Washington had no answer. Michael Penix got beat up, literally walking off the field, limping. I mean, that was the worst possible outcome for the Washington Huskies was last night. Getting dominated like that for an offense that has been flourishing and has dominated throughout the season, moving at fast pace. Nobody really had an answer for this offense. And Michigan, that's what happens when you play closest to, Ted, like you said, closest to an NFL defense.
Yeah, no,
that's what they did.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm going to give Washington credit. They deserve to be there.
I'm not saying they shouldn't.
No, absolutely.
And this is a whole nother animal.
They played tough competition this year.
Yeah.
They beat Oregon twice. They beat Utah. They beat USC. They beat Texas. And Penix looked great. The difference was, though, they had not faced a formidable defense like this. No defense that they played was close to this. Maybe Oregon, but still the physicality was different, in the difference.
Yeah.
We talked about it last night, a little hometown kind of talk, but similar to what North Haven High School football does. Pound and ground the football and then play solid.
Pound and ground, you ground and pound, Ted. It's ground and pound, Ted.
Well, they were pounding.
They were you know what? Touche. They were.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Who gives a shit? I mean, honestly, who cares? I say wrong things all the time. It doesn't really matter. That's what makes this even funnier because the stuff just literally rips off my
It just ripped off. Why? Where are we going with this?
right out of my mouth. We know. Listen, this is a very simple game. I picked Michigan because of the physicality, the defense. This was a team that was the best football team in the country. No one wanted to admit it because they thought, oh, they're cheating, this, that. They haven't played no one. Listen. They had the best offensive line, one of the best offensive lines in college football. They had a two-headed monster in the beginning of the season with Donovan Edwards.
You know they lost their best center, their best lineman too, in Ohio. Minter, the kid Minter, Zach Minter. I mean,
yeah, no, absolutely. Their defense was stout. They had talked about it. Joe Clyde, we watch Colin Cowherd a lot. And Joe Clyde was on the show every Wednesday, like 1 o'clock. They always talk, and he was talking about at least 15 to 18 guys on this Michigan team who are going to be drafted in this year's NFL draft class. And that's probably the truth. And that's. You look at Washington, it's not the same. You don't have that same type of talent. They're really good. Washington was really good. The only way Washington was really going to win is if Michael Penix, who we thought was the best player coming into this championship game, if he played like he did in the semifinals against Texas. But he was under duress all game. He had no opportunity really to settle his feet. He looked so uncomfortable in the pocket. I wrote in our CMG podcast, CRG group, they're like, listen, he was under pressure all night. You watch his fundamentals as a passer. He throwing his hips. He never turned to hips, never flew with throwing off his back foot. He just didn't look comfortable. And then, of course, they couldn't get any running game, so it put all the pressure on Penix. And that offensive line, who was the best offensive line, voted as the best offensive line in college football this year, got taken behind the woodshed by Michigan's defensive line. Michigan did not have to blitz. And they were able to play. They were able to play coverage. Now listen,
that's the thing that was so fascinating about that team, about that defense last night, is that the disguises that they were throwing at this offense left and right. They were rushing four. They were bringing four to the strong side at times. I was watching film earlier on Get Up and just seeing the different, and give credit to these the defensive coordinators. I forgot what his name was from Michigan, and then the kid that's also in Baltimore.
No, I think it's Mike Minter, and then
and I think about Baltimore. They kind of run a very similar defensive scheme.
Do you know who the defensive coordinator is?
Yeah, he used to coach for Michigan. I know. McDonald. Isn't it McDonald?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to say is that this defense, and the thing that didn't help actually also, Penix is a dual threat guy. He's a guy that likes to stay in the pocket. And if he has to if he has to extend plays and get out, he'll do it. But majority of the time, he likes to stay in the pocket, set his feet, and make.
Could never do that all night.
Yep. Go watch the Texas game. That's why Texas game, he literally looked like a Hall of Famer. Like, book him into the Hall of Fame. The way he was making his throws accurate, precise. Last night, I know that he was like, oh, he wasn't accurate. Well, that's because pressure. That's what pressure, and that's what it doesn't. You don't have to have sacks to have success as a defensive line. If you're getting pressure and you're getting to the quarterback and you're missing throws like Penix was to his guys throughout that game, then you did your job.
Yeah, there were some opportunities. I mean, you can tell by watching the first half of the game that Michigan was the more dominant team. Now, there was opportunities for Washington to get back in the game. They had a Dunzier down the sideline. Penix missed him, had him wide open, missed him over there.
He missed a couple throws, bro.
Yeah,
he just didn't look himself.
There was holding late in the fourth quarter when they were down 7.
But Ted, you got to give credit. That's all credited to Michigan.
Well, listen, they deserved it. They're the best team. They won 15-0. They took care of business against Penn State. They took care of business against Ohio State. They took care of business against Iowa, Alabama, and then they took care of business in Washington. And they were dominant.
And I'm not going to play this.
I thought Washington could have had an opportunity to make a run. They were down.
Well, it was a touchdown game until the fourth quarter, bro.
Michigan was kind of just sitting on it and milking the clock and really wasn't doing anything explosive.
No, that's not true, Ted.
JJ McCarthy, they didn't do anything. Listen, they didn't do any type of big pass, and JJ McCarthy really didn't do anything to exploit Washington's pass defense.
Oh, I get that, but Ted, there was a time, like you were just saying, that Washington was down 20-13, going into the fourth with 9 minutes left. They were shutting down that run game for a period of that. Portion of that second. Did you see the stat? Hold on. Did you see that stat that Michigan averaged yards per rush in the first quarter was 19 yards, and then in the second and third quarter it was 4.2 and then 4.4.
Yeah, I don't even know what the third. I don't know what the fourth quarter was.
So Washington did their part. It was just their offense, their go-to, the one that got them there, to be honest. just didn't have the flashy plays, wasn't able to get off anything. Dylan Johnson being hurt was a huge loss
They
for
only
them.
had one offensive touchdown.
I know he played, but you could see that man was just playing through absolute pain and agony. And that Michigan team went after them. They hit him, they punched him in the mouth, and Washington really had no time to recover.
Well,
and
then
then
Penix was 27-51, 53%, 255
51
yards.
times. I don't like that.
Well, listen, I felt that if they were going to win, he was going to have to. I showed you last night when they were doing like the over-unders. I knew he was going to throw the ball between 40 and 50 times because I didn't think Washington was going to be able to run the ball consistently enough. I thought they would try to run it, and you just want to make the defense respect your running game. So, but once Dylan Johnson, listen, I told you last week when he got hurt, the coach screwed that up. I don't understand and he almost blew the game too.
Beyond
the point. They couldn't run the ball. They could not run the ball, which didn't make Michigan's defense honest whatsoever. So now you just play coverage, you play your schemes, you throw your blitzes. Plus, there was multiple times where they were only rushing 3 or 4, and their D linemen were destroying the Washington offensive line, literally just running them over. And listen, I feel bad for Penix. He really had no chance last night, and he like you said, Trev, he was beaten up. He didn't have the athleticism to like what we're used to seeing.
Well, he really doesn't have the. He's like a two, like you said, Ted.
He ran against Texas when he had to.
Ted, he's like a two. You said it, like he's like a Tua.
Yeah, and last night proved where he's really good. He's deserving to be a first-round pick, but he should not be in the top 5. Should not be in this top 5 pick. He should be anywhere from 10 to 20. Unless someone wants to trade up for him at 8 or 9 or whatever, but we're still a long way from that.
Yeah, one of the teams that I would probably mention, and depending on what they do this offseason, if they already have a quarterback before the draft, is the Atlanta Falcons. They have they have the offensive line, they got the weapons. He'd be a good fit there. But if he has to go to a team like the Giants or something, just hypothetically, because the Giants are looking for a quarterback.
Daniel Jones.
It is true, but you don't want to put any of these quarterbacks in a situation where they're going to go be Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers, to be honest, because now that's a disaster.
No one expected that. I don't think Carolina expected that when they drafted Bryce Young.
No, well, you have an idiotic maniac like David Tepper. That's what's going to happen. Ted, I want to ask you quick before we get into the NFL. I wanted to ask you because it's the big question.
Yes,
is the hoodie and the glasses and the khakis going to be back in college football next year, or is he going to be coaching on Sundays?
He's going to the NFL. He's 60 years old. You got to strike while the iron's hot. This is the best time for him. It's going to be a bidding war. He's going to be able to name his price. Okay, and if he doesn't want to pay, he can bargain. Michigan,
they've already given him a huge lucrative deal.
Because Michigan, they can be like, hey, what are you going to bring? Michigan, what are you going to pay me? Listen, this is the NFL. He did what he promised Michigan fans. He brought him back to prominence. He's 40-3 in the last 3 seasons. All right, they've been to 3 straight bowl championships. They have a national championship. He's beaten Ohio State 3 years in a row. He's brought them to a respective.
No, he's brought them back to relevancy, back to power, back to.
Well, I heard a stat today that Michigan had not won an actual national championship solely.
Yeah, because they split with, I guess, Nebraska in 97.
1948. It was like 1948. Bo Schembechler never won a national championship for Michigan. So all these great things, all these great individual things, never did. Harbaugh, 15-0, most wins for a Big Ten team, brought Michigan to prominence. They were the most dominant team. They've been one of the most dominant teams. He's done everything he's needed to do. There's nothing more for him to do at Michigan. All right, go to the pros. Go. This is where now you want to conquer your ultimate goal, right? Everyone wants to be a professional at something. Well, go back to where you were great once for the San Francisco 49ers. There's a lot of great jobs out there. There's a lot. We don't know what's going to happen with the Patriots. We don't know what happened with the Bears. There's already
I wouldn't say there's a lot of great jobs.
Well, listen, any opportunity.
There's few. Yeah. I wouldn't say great.
I would say at least 3 or 4. And I think you start with the Chargers as a definite number 1. I think the Chargers easily because they have the quarterback. That's your first problem. And that everyone's trying to solve. So they have the quarterback, and he's already pressed his love for Justin Herbert. He talked about Justin Herbert years ago, how much he loved Justin Herbert. They have talent on the thing. They have a top 5 pick. They could trade back, get more assets. They're in a little cap salary thing where I think they need a critique. But you look at the West now. Denver's in flux. Don't know what's going to go on with that and Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. The Chiefs look old, so this might be a perfect time for the Chargers to strike. Raiders don't have a coach. He does have some connections with the Raiders too as well. Problem is they don't have a quarterback. So, that's a question. But Al Davis.
But that's a team
Al Davis loves to make a big kind of.
That's a team that is willing to go make a splash. I wanted to make one more point about.
I would say, hold on, and you said to me before, I would have said Washington because they have the number 2 pick, because you have Josh Harris, the new ownership. Washington
plus his family.
You're close. You're in that Maryland area. You know what I mean? Him, brother, Washington.
Wouldn't have to play his brother all the time unless they made it to the Super Bowl.
And then I think the third, which is not talked about, he's still a coach, would be Eberflus. If Chicago, he played for Chicago. They have the number 1 pick. He could have the number 1 pick and the number 9 pick. You could trade back if you like Fields. He could take Caleb. He can go get another receiver at 9, go get another piece, trade back. They got a lot of salary cap space. They have some pieces there for him to be successful. And you look at that division, that's a winnable division.
You are listening to people that are watching right now. You're listening to Keys to the City. You can subscribe, comment, like, share. And we're on all social media platforms at Keys to the City. So check us out. I just wanted to make one final point about Michigan winning the national championship. And I think Harbaugh is going to do it. He finally got the job done in Michigan. Michigan might take the big hit. Me personally, whatever. They won a national championship. That's what he ultimately wanted to do. He did it. Now go back and try to, like Ted said, conquer that next goal and winning a Super Bowl. And for everybody, I want to say, Georgia. I just hate when people do that. Can we just? I mean, I know I said it to you last night. I was like, imagine if Georgia was in or something. But I take that. I take that back because they had their shot. They were the number 1 team. They played Bama. They lost straight up on the field, so they weren't one of the 4 best teams. So stop with this. If we had Georgia against Michigan, they probably would have won. Just stop with the bullshit. It's over with. National championship is belonging to the Michigan Wolverines. Do I hate it? Of course, I'm an Ohio State guy. I don't want to see Michigan win. But like I said, and how we started the show, I've been suffering for the past couple of years with my sports teams. Ted, I got to ask you a question straight up. Why do I suffer? Why am I suffering? You're my best friend. You're my brother. You know me better. I want to say you know me better than anybody. But why am I suffering so much with sports? Please help me.
Well, you act like, at the end of the day, we're the same sports fans.
Yeah, but we're very different. We do not want. Yeah, we might be brothers, and we might be.
But
we're different in our predictions.
I'm a Florida Gator fan.
No, but I'm asking, why am I suffering?
Well, because you have bad picks. You're a bad picker.
I'm not a bad picker.
You're a bad picker. That's why when we go grocery shopping, I used to pick out the fruits and veggies because you don't.
Ted picks out the fruits and veggies. We really know why you picked out the stuff. Kids looking at prices. That's come on, bro. Don't play that bullshit.
No price. You gotta look and check the fruits and vegetables. Make sure
but we know what you really looked at. The reason me and you when we were going shopping, I was living with you, is because of the fact I just buy anything. I want to pay for my buck. You're like, oh no, nickel and dime them. We got a nickel and dime.
Strategy, bro. Strategy.
Yeah, it's called the cheap strategy.
It works.
You know what? Sometimes it does.
Listen, I don't look at Ohio State as a failure. I know you're talking about.
Are you kidding me?
Listen, I get it. Everyone expects
the Yankees failed. The Giants failed. Buckeyes failed. The Lakers look like they're failing right now. Like the Rangers. Thank God for the Rangers, because if it wasn't for the Rangers, Duke isn't playing up to standards. Like, why? Why are the sports gods doing this to me? That's all I want to know. Did I do anything? Did I do something wrong?
Yeah, you did. You did a lot of things wrong.
Oh, and you know what makes it worse? I'm so glad I just started because you started laughing. You know what makes it worse? Is that I had to hear my brother last night say, as he was laughing, mind you, watch, the Dallas Cowboys might win. Why? Why would you say that? Like, why the hell would you say that to me? You know that the biggest fear in my life outside of sharks is seeing the Dallas Cowboys win a Super Bowl. If the Dallas Cowboys win a Super Bowl and we're watching that game, I don't even know if I'm watching the game. All I know is I'm going to drink a lot and I'm not going to be able to function watching that game because I do not need to see the Dallas Cowboys in the Super Bowl. They do. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Eventually, it's
just-
gonna happen.
Huh?
Eventually, it's gonna happen.
But why would you say it last night too? After Michigan won, you're like, oh, watch, Dallas is gonna go win the Super Bowl. I'm like, why?
No, I didn't say they're gonna win the Super Bowl.
Ted,
I
you
said
know
they
how
would
we
play
feel
in the
about
Super
Dallas.
Bowl. I said they would play in the Super Bowl and lose.
We
to the
know
Bills.
how we feel about Dallas, Ted.
I know. Bills would beat them again.
What do you mean again? Not in a
Like
Super
in the
Bowl. They
reg-
haven't
like
never
in the
done.
regular season,
Never.
they did in
Yeah,
the-
never did it in
No,
the
like in
Super
the
Bowl
regular
though.
season. It's like
A
they
whole
did in the
different
regular
ball
season.
game.
Like they did in the regular season. All Baltimore.
All I know is, Ted.
That would be a good matchup. Baltimore, Lamar versus Dallas.
All I know is that we're like 4 weeks away from possibly my biggest fear.
All
We'll see
right,
what happens.
whatever. Let's let the game.
Why is it always whatever? I gotta
Let the
hear
game
you.
be
I
played.
gotta hear you complain and bitch
I
and
don't
moan.
complain.
But when Trev comes out and says it, I just want to know why the sports gods are making me suffer. Speaking of the playoffs, we just talked about the college football playoff, and sadly, college football has come to an end, and we will see the boys of fall back in September, hoping for bigger and better things from Ohio State.
Yeah, and we'll have the 12-team playoff next year.
And we're gonna have a 12-team playoff. So, for all the people that have been complaining, if you find a way to complain next year, you're the problem.
Well, we'll have that. Plus, you'll have all the redivision. I mean, think about it. Last night was the end
Oh
of
my
the
God,
Pac-
the Big Ten is going to be. I mean, you're having a rematch next year, October 5th.
The
Michigan
end of the-
travels
the
to
end of the-
Seattle.
At the end of the Pac-12, you'll have the Big Ten big. You have the SEC with Alabama. Oklahoma and Texas. You got all those new teams in the ACC.
Mhm.
So, I mean, listen, and then the Big 12, they got their team. So it's going to be really interesting.
Oh boy,
I'm really kind of excited because I think you're going to get we're going to get more you know, like when we talk about the regular season, you and me were like always looking like, what's the good games this weekend? Look at the Big Ten. Every weekend you're going to have
star-studded games.
Every weekend you're going to have at least
Oregon,
two.
Washington, USC, UCLA, all
Well, I mean,
playing in the playing in these
I mean,
Big
you got
Ten
the
games.
USC, Michigan, Washington, USC, Ohio State, all these other teams. You know what I mean? You're going to have and then you have the regular Big Ten matchups, which are always exciting.
Hopefully, I'm curious to see how they're going to. I don't think they're going to doing the divisions anymore, right?
They're doing two.
I'm curious to see how they're going to split this division. Because can we please make each of these
I thought they
divisions
did do that.
equal?
I thought they did do that.
Fun fact for you, Ted. The 4-team college football playoff started with a Big Ten champion. It will end with a Big Ten champion as we transition to the 12-team playoff. Speaking of playoffs, while Ted is looking through to see all that information, the NFL playoffs. We have the final 14. Next year is going to be 12 in the college football playoff. Well, we got 14 now in the NFL. And it's been pretty good since I think it's been a success since this 14 teams playoff has kind of been introduced to us in the NFL. Yeah, when you look at these playoffs,
one conference top overall 2021 will conclude with an annual Big Ten championship. Will feature the top 2 teams in the overall conference.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought they were going to
The
do.
winner earning a Big Ten championship. Yep. So they kept a lot of the same rivalry games. They kept those.
Good.
That we had the Illinois Northwestern, Illinois Purdue,
So
Michigan State. So you still have all those Oregon, Washington, UCLA, USC. Forgot UCLA too.
I told you that.
So, but I mean, you look at next season.
Yeah, they added
Michigan
you.
started off the season with they got.
We're not going to go through a college football schedule right now.
Well, I mean, why not?
As you look, I'll talk. We'll do that. It's good when Ted.
They play Illinois, Indiana.
This is, ladies and gentlemen, this is I should put this as breaking news. Rare sighting. Ted is reading right now. Ted is reading.
Kiss my ass. Yeah, you like that one. I mean, Ohio State next year. Let's see. They start out with Michigan State first week of the season.
Good. That's a win.
Yeah. Then they got.
All I know is if Ryan Day doesn't get to
Oregon,
winning a
Nebraska.
national championship, he's gone next year.
They got an easy schedule next year.
Great. They're probably
Only tough teams they play Michigan, Penn State, and Oregon. That would be tough.
Those are 3 games that could be
Michigan
all losses.
Michigan's got USC, Washington, Oregon, and Ohio State. So they
won their national championship. So who cares? They won a national championship.
When you're the best, you're the best. Play the best.
That's it. There's no better feeling.
You're the second best.
There's no better feeling in the world to call yourself a champion. And the Michigan Wolverines are, unfortunately, national champions. Ted, you just said playing the best of versus the best. Well, you're going to get the 14 best teams in the NFL playing for a right at a Super Bowl champion. And it starts, or championship, and it starts this weekend. And oh my goodness, if you're a fan of storylines, If you're a fan of just matchups, then the NFL has got you covered this weekend. You got matchups, you got storylines. The return of Matthew Stafford going to Ford Field to play, and Jared Goff. Jared Goff versus Matthew Stafford. What a matchup that's going to be. Tyreek Hill going back to Arrowhead. I mean, Mike McCarthy versus the Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys. A legendary rivalry. I mean, what else do we need? What else do you need to watch this weekend? If you're a football fan, just sit your ass down, 4 o'clock, and enjoy the Houston Texans against the Cleveland Browns, which might be the most interesting matchup of the weekend, because what Houston team is going to show up? Is it this team that's led by, at one point, an MVP candidate in C.J. Stroud, or is it going to be the team that got shellacked by these Cleveland Browns a couple weeks ago? I get it. C.J. Stroud wasn't playing in that game, but Mr. Joe Flacco, 38 years young, boy, oh boy. Ted, let's get into it. Let's talk. We're going to try to come back and make our predictions and talk a little more down the road. But let's talk about.
Just reading some of the storylines on the ESPN. It said Broncos leave door open for Wilson return on.
He says storylines and he goes to the Denver Broncos. I don't want to talk about I'm not talking about non-playoff teams.
Saints players back with Wilson.
We will talk non-playoff teams later after the season. They're not in the playoffs. Well, that even includes our New York Football Giants. We will be talking about them down the stretch unless something happens. Oh, that's another thing. It continues. The Giants are just back to being chaos. Thank you, football.
Supposedly Wink has not filed for resignation.
It looks like a shit show right now. We got to figure it out because here we go again. Like, we already just had 10 years of suffering. We need another. Like, come on.
Yeah, whatever.
Dead dark horses. Like, I know that there's the favorites, 49ers and the Ravens, overwhelming favorites in their conferences. But we've seen in the past couple of years, we saw the Tennessee Titans get to an AFC title game. We saw the Cincinnati Bengals. It's been unique because most of the time we've seen teams that play in the wild card sometimes get to the Super Bowl and make a deep run. When you look at these matchups, you look at these teams right now on paper, take health. You got to put in the health debate. Do you see any dark horses in the AFC, or if you see somebody maybe in the NFC?
I think the obvious ones for me would be the Browns and the Rams. I think because the Browns defense can carry them to the conference championship. If they win this,
do you not give credit? Do you not think Flacco can do it? Because he's been there.
He's also thrown 8 picks too. So as much as we praise how well he's played and thrown the ball over the field, he's also had multiple turnovers in the short.
It's part of the
4 games he played in. He's had 8 turnovers. So, you take the good with the bad. But that defense is legit. And that defense we've seen before can carry a team to the Super Bowl. Are they good enough to get the Super Bowl? I don't think so. I just don't think missing guys like Nick Chubb and their 2 offensive tackles and the players that they already have that are on the IR that are not going to participate in this playoffs. Just think it's going to be too much for them to overcome. But can they beat the Texans? Yeah. Could they then play the Ravens and you play your division rival? Now I get it. You got smoked earlier this season in Baltimore. Second game, you were down 2 or 3 touchdowns. And Deshaun, that's when Deshaun went 14 for 14 and came back, and the Browns beat Baltimore. But
actually, his last game this season.
But with that being said, though, Joe Flacco would not be scared of the moment. So you'd have a quarterback, and I don't think the team would be, because you know what it's like to play your division rival. So
can you imagine that matchup in the second round? We get to see Flacco returning to Baltimore and playing at an AFC title game.
And let's be honest, Cleveland's already going to have a game under the belt, a little pressure taken off. Baltimore is going to be off.
But that's the thing. We keep talking about Cleveland.
Lamar's going to be off for 3 weeks. Is he going to come out rusty at all? Is there going to be any extra pressure on Lamar? Is Baltimore going to fail like they did a couple years ago?
Yeah.
When they lost to the Titans in the divisional round. And we saw the Titans a couple years ago lose to the Bengals, having the buys and all that other stuff. So we've seen this before. And then the NFC, I think it's the Rams. You told me a stat yesterday, and then I heard it again today. When Puka, Kupp, Kyren Williams, and Stafford all play, they're 6-2, and they average 29.5 points a game.
And over 400 yards.
They're a dangerous team. They can score points. Now, I get it. Their defense is not as dominant as it once was, but they have a matchup.
But neither is Detroit.
No, exactly. And you play Detroit, and Detroit has never really been here. All right. And you get Stafford, redemption, and he's loved in Detroit. So I think that might be the most exciting game of the weekend, a game I'm really looking forward to. And it could be a 40-40 game. I could see both teams scoring back and forth. with both offenses. Now, we'll see what happens with Laporta. It doesn't look like he might play Sundays. That could be a huge hit for Detroit.
Yeah.
Considering he was one of the best tight ends in all of football this season.
Yep.
And, then they get to the second round. If they're playing, if they have to go to San Francisco, they've already played San Francisco. They know them well.
We know the history of that rivalry.
That just makes everything that much more interesting. And like we said, I think the narrative on Purdy is still out where I think we all like Purdy. We know he's good. But last year, he didn't do too much in the divisional round against Dallas. So is he is he ready to really take this team to the next level? He's God forbid the Rams jump on San Francisco and it's 14-0 or 14-3. Is Purdy ready to drive them back? Because Purdy's a much different quarterback when he's playing.
And what was that? And Kyle Shanahan, when he's trailing, his record is, I forgot. It's a losing record. It's not good. I forgot what it was, but it's not
double digits or something.
Yeah, it's not.
He's not. I mean, I can look it up while you're talking.
It's like there's the matchups. Like so the reason why I'm not gonna go with what you said is the fact that I agree with what you said. I'm not gonna continue what you because I agree. I'm not gonna put the Bills in anymore because they're a 2 seed. And the Lions were the other team, but they're a 3 seed, so I don't consider them a dark horse. I consider a team like the Browns a dark horse, a wild card team. The Rams a dark horse because the Rams, they have the experience. I know the defense.
I just don't think the Texans are ready yet.
Their defense is completely young, and I get it changed and stuff. But that offense, when they got that big 4 going, that's an offense that's going to be hard to get off the field. And then the Browns, that's a defense that those offenses don't want to deal with. They want to be off the field because of how good it is. They are different on the road than they are at home. So that's another big thing. And that matchup, I mean, right off the bat, you're playing Houston and Cleveland. I mean, that's a matchup that either way can go. I'm going to go to a different point about this weekend. There's 2 teams that are going to have, if they both lose, that are going to have to deal with a lot of criticism, a lot of questions, and a lot of uncertainty going into next year. And they were 2 teams that had their so-called divisions wrapped up, and they blew both.
They both could have won the number 1 seeds if I think this is where you're going.
And I think you know who I'm talking about. It's the 2 Alabama quarterbacks and the team down south in the 305 and the team up north in good old brotherly love. The Philadelphia Eagles have gone completely 360. They look like the worst team going into this playoffs right now. And then the Miami Dolphins, once again, prove to you and to everyone else why they are still the Miami Dolphins and will never be taken serious until they win games like they should have on Sunday night. So, Ted, when you see these 2 matchups, I mean, good luck to Miami going to Kansas City with 0-degree weather, going against the defending champs, and then that Monday night game. That's another game that could be a toss-up because how bad Philly is playing.
I'm not worried about the weather for Miami. What I'm worried about is the 2 weak points on Kansas City is their offensive tackles. And the problem is both of the pass rushers that are legit for Miami are out for the season. And Jalen Phillips, and Bradley Chubb. So it's not like they can take advantage of that. Because here's the thing. You got the 2 quarterbacks in Ramsey and Howard. You still have a really good defense, but the pass rusher guys that you were hoping for are not there. So you can't capitalize on Kansas City's weakness.
Yeah.
So that puts a little bit more pressure on the defense. I'm not worried about the cold. Whatever. They'll figure it out.
Forget about the cold. Forget about the cold. The big question. What about Tua? Because if he struggles and he plays like 50-50, like average, are you willing to go give up a lot of money? I get it. He had 29 touchdowns. He had the 14 picks. He had the solid numbers, a lot of passing yards.
Played in every game.
He played in every game. I get it. He stayed healthy. But when you look at the games, just look at the schedule and just look at who he had to play with. I mean, he was playing he had one of the easiest schedules, and the one game that he won that was a meaningful game this year was on Christmas Eve. And they just got by beating Dallas. Other than that, they've gotten
a rematch. This is a rematch from Germany.
Yeah, they played Germany. They lost to the Chiefs in Germany. Yeah, they got their asses kicked by Philly. They got their asses kicked by Buffalo in Buffalo. They lost to Buffalo again. They got demolished by the Baltimore Ravens. All the games that they've played that were meaningful.
Dallas probably could have.
That was the one game. That's why I said the one game that they won, they probably should have lost. So, like Tua, if he plays average again, are you going to give him $200 million?
not $200 million, but they're probably
Well,
gonna pay you.
realistically, you have to look at the Ted. You got to look at the market now, man. Quarterbacks are getting huge contracts.
I know. Look at the Daniel Jones contract. That's where
I get it, but Tua is better than Daniel Jones.
Yes, but that's where the money's got to start. At least $40 million a year. You're gonna have Justin Fields probably on the market.
Are you willing to fork
Cousins
over that much money for a guy
Cousins.
that's an injury away, possibly from injury, or just not good enough to win you a Super Bowl?
What about Kirk Cousins? Kirk Cousins came out today and said money's not an option. For
I
him.
saw that it's not an option.
Yeah.
I saw that.
He's made enough money. Like he said, what did he say? I think it was like making sure the organization is like with it. They got all their chips in line. You know what I mean? Like they got.
But that might be who Tua is. He's just a left-handed Kirk Cousins.
Imagine, Kirk Cousins. I could see Kirk Cousins playing for Miami. Imagine him in Miami.
But that's what I don't see no difference. I see a left-handed Kirk Cousins.
That doesn't get hurt. He's better, healthier, and he's. I would take Cousins over Tua. Absolutely.
It depends on. I mean, for that team specifically, I feel like. I don't know. I feel like Tua is more with that offense. I think McDaniels. I don't see Kirk Cousins fitting that offense.
I could. Quick, smart Kyle Shanahan. It's same offense. Kyle Shanahan.
I just feel like that would be. I don't see any improvement.
But where's Mike McDaniel from? The Kyle Shanahan thing. Kyle Shanahan and Kirk Cousins when they were Washington.
All I know is
here's the thing. Here's something we haven't really talked about. What if the 49ers lose in the divisional round to the Rams?
Yeah.
And then the Rams are playing the Cowboys or whoever or something.
Well, are the Rams going to beat the Lions?
Well, I don't know, but I'm saying, what if the 49ers lose and Purdy doesn't play well? 49ers going to ride with Purdy.
100% agree, bro.
Ride with Purdy again next season. Like, hey, listen, we've already proved it once. We can find a quarterback.
I think we as fans and people in the media need to really use the term elite lightly.
Well, no one's saying he's elite.
I'm just saying for a lot of these quarterbacks. Because you really just see, like, there's a huge gap and a huge difference from the elites. Like, I know that people might freak out, but Jalen Hurts is not an elite quarterback. And I've been saying this. This is what happened in Alabama. Everything was going perfectly. And then all of a sudden, something started to, it wasn't working the same. And then he got benched by Tua. And he went to Oklahoma. And he was amazing there. I get it. And then he got his asses kicked to a team that was all time in the LSU Tigers. But then he went to Philly, had an amazing year last year because everything was perfect. Offensive line was unbelievable. The defensive line was unbelievable. The linebacking crew was unbelievable. Their secondary caused turnovers, led the league in sacks. Let's add to the fact that their offense was one of the best in football, running the football and passing to A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith and Miles Sanders, who had his best year last year. When you put all of that together, everything works perfectly. But now you're really starting to see it all open up. And then you watch Jalen Hurts play, and I get it. Look, A.J. Brown played. A.J. Brown has played. Jalen Hurts hasn't looked good. And now I know people are going to be like, oh, Daniel Jones got a bad contract. Jalen Hurts is about 6 or 7 games away from people saying, yikes. Good luck to Philly getting out of that contract. Because that's a $250 million quarterback right now. It's not 140. And we need to stop people thinking that Jalen Hurts is an elite quarterback because
I also think he's a little beat up though too.
I get it, but he is not. But Ted, come on, he's not an elite quarterback.
You taking him over Dak?
I'll take Dak over Jalen Hurts.
Wow.
Right now.
That's why I said Dak is the best NFC quarterback right now in the league. In the NFC.
Right now, I would take Stafford. I would take Stafford.
I would put Stafford too.
I would take Stafford I would take Jalen Hurts 4.
Then I would take Purdy.
I would take Jalen. That's what I'm saying. You just named 4 quarterbacks that really aren't in the elite category. So where's Jalen Hurts then?
Well, right now, his play right now, but he's not an elite quarterback. I never consider him elite. He's a very good quarterback.
But this whole year, I get it. I know our boy Patty.
Talk about Herbert as elite.
I'm not. I know.
listen, talent-wise, he's elite. A couple guys always say, like, our buddies from Angelo, from Randall's, they always say, like, because always want to talk about Herbert Lee. Like, what's he won? Never won. Talent-wise, he's got all the elite talent.
Yeah.
And listen, I get it. He hasn't won
Same thing
shit.
at Oregon. The same thing at Oregon, though.
If you ask majority of the NFL GMs and people that run the personnel that are much smarter than us, I'm sorry, but Herbert would be one of the top 5 quarterbacks taken in the league. If they had a fantasy draft, he would be one of the 5 best top quarterbacks. Sorry, he would be. Mahomes would probably be 1. 2 would be Josh Allen. 3 would probably be Burrow. 4 would probably be Lamar. And 5 would probably be Herbert.
No, he wouldn't.
Who am I missing?
CJ Stroud.
CJ Stroud's not getting taken above Herbert.
I would take CJ Stroud and Josh Allen. Those would be my 2 quarterbacks I'd build my franchise around.
No, but I'm saying, if you had a fantasy draft, Mahomes would go 1. Josh Allen would go 2. Burrow would go 3.
No, Josh Allen would go 1. Josh Allen would go 1.
He'd go 2. I'm telling you, people would take
Josh Allen has more rushing touchdowns. That's why.
It doesn't matter. People are going to tell you, if you ask anyone in the NFL, they'll all take Mahomes. Everyone.
I'll take my chances with
Josh Allen has too many turnovers.
Who cares?
Joe Burrow goes 3, and I would take Joe Burrow 2. I would take Joe Burrow over Josh Allen and probably Mahomes. Healthy, sorry, I would. Lamar, I love Lamar. And it's not, and when people think you're knocking, I'm not trying to change the conversation, but Lamar would go 4. Herbert, talent-wise, would probably go 5. Stroud, not yet, but he's right there. Stroud is right there.
Do you think I'm crazy to what I just said about Jalen Hurts?
I think he's not elite, but he's very good. He's a top 10 quarterback. That's a legit quarterback. That's a guy that could bring you to the Super Bowl. He did last year. I think right now. I also think he is beat up.
Dude, they got to the Super Bowl.
First of all, he's physically beat up. Okay, he's fit. You could see it. He's not athletic enough. Like right now, it looks like his legs hurt and everything. Here's the other thing. I think the loss of Shane Steichen to the Colts has been is a bigger loss than they could have ever realized.
That's what I'm saying.
And look at what Gannon did for the Arizona Cardinals.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. Everything
make a big difference.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. Everything was perfect for them last year.
But things have changed. You can figure things out. Look at
how everything changed and everything's gone to shit for them.
Look how much better Josh Allen's played since Brady. Oh my God! Tell me how.
Yeah, Joe Brady. Yeah, Joe Brady. I get it.
The LSU. Look how different. And
but that's the whole team. That's the whole team.
Do you realize Josh Allen's numbers? Do you realize Josh Allen's numbers have actually gone down since Brady has taken over?
Yeah, because they've become more balanced with running the football.
But the defense has played much better.
I know.
The secondary's played much better.
But that's what I'm trying to tell you is that everything was perfect.
So it doesn't. So it wasn't. It's not all based on the quarterback. Jalen Hurts right now. The defensive line last year was dominant. I don't know where their pass rush went.
Everything was perfect last year, bro.
Listen, that happens though. Look at the Chiefs this year. The Chiefs. How many passes are going to drop? They should be the number 1 seed. They call half the balls this season.
Yeah, but that's not it. That's not that's a physical problem for them to figure out. That's not anybody else's fault. That's on the play. But that's not on them. That's the player specifically. This is a whole different thing. They're off. I mean, come on, man. Like, if anything, you could say the Giants look like they were going to playoffs on Sunday. They look like a team that was going to be a wrecking in the NFC play.
That whole team looked like they quit.
That's a huge deal, bro.
Dude, the Giants were up like 3 touchdowns on the Eagles when the Eagles needed the win.
That's what I'm trying to tell you is that
once it was over, they just said
players look like they're starting to quit, and when that starts to happen, hell starts to break loose.
The only thing I could say as a football guy is maybe this is like, okay, everyone's against us, backs against the wall. They have
so they survived one more week then.
Well, here's the thing. Then they go to maybe play Dallas.
No, because they probably depending on
if the Rams win, the Rams go.
Okay, so they're going to lose to either Philly or San Fran, or they're going to lose to Dallas or San Fran.
Maybe they beat Dallas. You'll be rooting for Hurts.
I'm going to be rooting for none of them.
You'll be rooting for Philly over Dallas. I know you will.
I've suffered enough because I can't win in that situation. That's a loss for me because I can't win in that situation.
I rooted for Philly over New England in the Super Bowl.
I voted for New England.
I did.
I don't like Philly. I don't like Philly.
I couldn't watch Brady and the Belichick then win another one.
It don't matter. The Giants beat them. I don't care. Like I love when people bitch and moan about the Patriots. Like, oh, I hate Brady. I hate Belichick. I don't really care because the Giants beat them twice, so I don't really care.
No, it's Listen, the weekend should be great matchups. Like you said, you started this conversation a long time ago when we got off script, but that's okay. The
What do you
Texans.
mean? We never went off script.
Well, we were talking about the Texans-Browns game.
We're talking shenanigans. Who
Chiefs,
cares?
Miami. I think all the matchups are great. I think the NFL should be super excited for the weekend.
Yeah.
I think you got every possible great matchup you could have. I think the only knock on the matchup is the Steelers being in, and I get it, and them being a little beat up, especially with TJ Watt. I think TJ Watt would at least give the Steelers a chance, but now you can just slide your protection to Highsmith. I don't know what you can make of that offense and Mason Rudolph. Listen, the Bills are waiting for this. Like, this is the thing they waited for. They got the home field. I get it. They're not the number 1 seed, but they're the 2 seed. Were they the 2 seed last year?
No.
Chiefs were the 1, and were they the 2 when the Bengals?
Yeah, they were the 2 seed. The Bengals were 3.
Okay, but there's no Joe Burrow, and that's the thing. Joe Burrow is the only guy that Mahomes and Lamar and everyone should be scared of. He's the only guy in that conference that could take them all down. He's not in the.
Am I going to suffer this weekend?
So what I'm saying is, the Bills should easily take care of business against the Steelers like they did during the regular season when they crushed them.
Yeah.
So they should just take it out, dominate, and then they get the Chiefs in the divisional round at their place. Something they've been probably licking their lips and drooling like a dog that hasn't been fed in a month, waiting.
Or just Ted every 5 minutes.
I'm hungry anyway, so
I'm starving right now.
But then, I mean, think about it. You would get that rematch, and the way I look at it, I don't know if you joined the CMG thing, we picked the playoff games. I have the Browns winning. I think they find a way to win, even though I'm kind of rooting for the Texans. I'm rooting for both teams. I think both stories would be great. I'd love to see C.J. Stroud in that team and continue the run. But, I mean, the Joe Flacco story in the Browns, like, why not? You know what I mean? Good for the Browns. It'd be awesome. Dave Jermaine, their family's huge Brown fans. Plus, you
know who also is a fan of the Cleveland Browns?
Who?
Our grandfather.
Yeah, but that's like a long time. But he was a 49er fan.
He was also a 49er fan.
He had the 49er jacket fan on.
He was a Browns and a 49er fan.
Then we would get, like the Browns-Ravens, which I think would be what the NFL kind of wants, storyline. Flacco returns home. Then you get the Chiefs-Bills, the matchup you always kind of wanted, but now you get it in the playoffs. Now you get in thing. And then you look at the NFC, you're like, okay, what's the best matchups? I want to see the Lions win. I want the rematch against Dallas. And then Philly goes to San Francisco.
I won't suffer anymore if the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles are eliminated. I won't suffer. Until they're gone, I'm still suffering.
But Jordan Love and the Packers, I'll see. That should be an interesting. I love it. I love it.
I mean, old school rivalry.
Well. Jordan Love's played really well.
Jordan Love's playing very well, man.
Their defense is going to have to play much better. Zaire Alexander, go get CeeDee Lamb, bro.
How about they just triple team CeeDee Lamb? Because CeeDee Lamb's on another plan right now.
So
him and Dak are the best duo in football. The best duo. That is the best
on a different level this year.
That is the best.
I was
about to say.
In that game.
I was about to say.
Well, you even said it. You thought Dallas. This is probably the best team, Dallas, even though offensively they're really only CeeDee Lamb because they don't have any.
I don't want to keep giving them compliments.
It's opposites. You got to think opposite, like George Costanza. I will do the opposite.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But what if
today I will have chicken salad on rye?
What if the bastards actually do, though?
Lose?
No.
Win.
They win. They just keep winning.
Well, I don't know.
I think I'm canceling my ticket if they go to the Super Bowl.
All right.
He's like, whatever. Well, let's see if Trev is going to suffer this weekend with sports because right now his teams and his picking skills have been very, very poor. I got a bad temper, man. I'm about to lose it.
I look at
I'm about to lose it, man. My temper, everything he says is angry.
Trevor's an angry
Trevor's an angry man.
Listen, I'm excited for the weekend. I mean, these as much as
it's playoff time. It's playoff
nearing the end. If we saw anything from that Miami Bills game Sunday night, how exciting that game was, and how it felt like everything that both teams were giving each, back and forth, 100,000% effort. Excuse me. I think is a sign to what we're going to see this weekend in the playoffs. I'm hoping for all great games. I think that's all you can root for.
That's always the hope. It's always the hope.
And if you didn't, guess what? The NFL is going to make so much money because we were thinking about the other day. How much money is the NFL going to make for people that are going to sign up for Peacock on Saturday night to watch it? It's a money manager, and then you just you buy it for the month, and then
Peacock for free.
No, it's like $5.99 or
now it's $5.99.
or it's like $9.99. It's like $10 for the month. But then you can cancel. You probably get like 30 days free, and then they charge you like the monthly fee
for one game. I think Peacock is only airing one game.
Yeah, it's the Saturday night game.
No, it's the Chiefs and
Miami.
Dolphins.
But there is another game where they're doing the NBC where they could be on both simulcasts. So if you had Peacock, you'd be able to watch it just like NBC. It's a money grab, bro. They're going to get even Michael K. They'll probably have 50,000 to 100,000 people will sign up on Peacock Saturday night just for that game to watch it. And then
a lot of the Taylor Swift fans.
Who cares? Who cares, bro? I don't know why it's even a conversation. Who cares?
Because they're gonna have to watch. That's how they're gonna have to watch the game.
Bring Jay-Z. Bring Eminem. 50 Cent. Let's go. Bring the whole.
They should. Speaking of Eminem, they should have like a concert right before the game, the Detroit game, or like him just get the crowd going or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll have to see. We're not making any picks. We'll come back and make picks before the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll do some Friday, Saturday. We'll put some picks. We'll post them. We'll have some fun with it.
Well, we always say something, but Ted is.
Here's the thing is, I'm trying to figure out who has the upset. Because there's always an upset every year.
It could be Tampa. Could be Houston. Could be
is Tampa really an upset as the 4 seed? The Rams, I don't really look at the Rams as an upset because I look at the Rams as
I would say that Houston would be the big upset. Maybe Green Bay.
Green Bay probably.
Yeah, that would be huge. They're 7.5 point underdog.
Actually, Miami.
Yeah,
but that would be great to see Miami beat Kansas City.
But I don't think that's out of the question.
I'm rooting for Miami.
Oh, we have to. We got to root for Mom's team.
Yeah,
my thing was what I was going to say is to finish off as I wouldn't see it as that big of an upset if the Dolphins won because of the way the Chiefs have been this year.
But watch, the Chiefs will look like the best team that all season long. You know it. They'll look like
I know.
They'll look like the best team. Everyone will catch the ball. Kelsey will look like he's 10 years younger again. Mahomes crowd will be in. The defense will be dominating. Tua will look like shit. And then Chiefs will win like 30-13. Everyone's going to be hyping up the Chiefs like, are the Chiefs back? Are they rolling? Blah, blah, blah.
You could picture it now on Get Up at 8 o'clock. And they're back.
And then they'll play the Bills and then they get smoked.
Well, that's why they play the game. So we'll have to see. 14 teams left. It is officially go time for the NFL playoffs. College football, hell of a season. Finished off in fashion last night with the Michigan Wolverines winning 34-13 over the Washington Huskies, and Trev continues to suffer with the sports gods. That's the matchup of all matchups. Trev versus the sports gods, because Trev is just awful right now. Need some luck, Ted. Need some good luck, Ted. I need your luck. Pass me over some luck. We'll see you next episode. We're Keys to the City. We are out.
You are now in tune to the Keys to the City podcast.